Hello my friends, this is FPS Wargamer, and I have something special to show you. In actuality, this is Solid Zaku here for my second round of penance. The first time I failed a painting challenge, I gave you guys the cheap plastic art tutorial. This time, if you can't already tell, I'm going to give you the miniature airbrushing tutorial. It's more of a how-to and a what-to-do, kind of an e-how sort of thing. So let's get started. I'm going to start this off with the mindset of, if you're watching this, you don't know jack about airbrushing, and you're doing this for a getting started sort of a thing. So, if some of these terms seem, well, come on, everybody knows that. Well, not everybody knows that, you know. Not everybody does. So let's get started. What is the airbrush I use? Now, some people are going to have problems with me recommending an airbrush, but honestly, I don't really have a problem with it because, you know, I started out, you know, knowing nothing, and I pretty much taught myself the ropes. So this is stuff from a practical sense as a, you know, wargamer and whatnot. You know, I don't really follow all the artistic caveats, you know, that an actual artisan might. So let's just go from that mindset. This is the Iwata Eclipse HP CS. I know you can't see that, but it's blazoned on the side, stamped in the side. Bad camera, go figure. Anyway, this is pretty much a moderate use, or an intermediate to beginning use one. It's meant for beginning artists, you know, who use it for cars and, you know, paintings and t-shirts and all that sort of stuff. But for miniature wargaming, this is about the highest you want to go as far as quality, because past that, it's just, you know, the dividends aren't increasing. You know, you're just not getting a good return on it. And I'll tell you why. One, it's double action. What does double action mean? Well, consider this. A thing like a spray can, you know, for your primer, that's technically a single action spray something or other. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a single action. This thing is double action, in that only you can spray, but you can control how much is spraying. You know, you can go from, you know, a tiny little bit, which is about a pencil thin, or, well, I mean, like pencil point thin, that is, if you're really good at it, all the way up to, well, you could base coat something with this. You know, about I'd say about an inch wide or inch and a half wide spray, if you really wanted. Number two is its feeding system. Now, the feeding system is the thing that gets paint, you know, into the nozzle, you know, to get it spraying out. And now there are two basic kinds. One is gravity fed, and the other one is siphon fed. Now this is gravity fed, which means, you know, the gravity, as you see, just takes the paint from here through, you know, and of course the pushing force of the air, but that's just common knowledge. The siphon fed system has, usually it's on the side or it's on the bottom, although I have seen top fed versions. What it does is it has a small bottle with a tube, and basically the tube that's inside the bottle sucks the paint out of the bottle and through the gun. But honestly, I find those are more difficult to clean. Actually, a lot more difficult to clean. And yes, honestly, I will say, if you want to go for either siphon or gravity fed, it's up to you. I prefer gravity fed because I find it easier to clean. The pro on siphon fed is, if you have multiple bottles, you can just swap paints, you know, on the fly if you really wanted to. You can't do that with gravity feed. That's the only problem. You can't do it with gravity feed. Although it is easier to fix your paint mixture in a gravity fed system. Say it's too thick or too thin, you can change it on the fly. If you have a gravity fed system, much easier than you can if it's siphon fed. But if you're doing your paints right, which I'm going to show you how to do, that shouldn't be a problem. So that's what it is. The Iwata Eclipse HP CS. If you're looking for this, and I recommend it, of course, because I mean, I'm using it, that's what that is. Next up on the hierarchy, the Iwata Studio Series Sprint Jet Air Compressor. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Air compressor. Ugh, don't really think I want one of those. Aren't those really noisy? No. No, not at all. Not at all, they're not. Now see, I have the thing set up here, but I'm not going to turn it on while it's on here, because although they are quiet, they rumble a lot. And in a previous take, I had this paint pot fall on me. So that was interesting. I'm going to move this onto my bed for the tutorial. And I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but let's give it a try. That hiss you may be hearing, that's as loud as this thing's ever going to get. Honestly, I mean, it's not whisper quiet, but it's certainly a lot more quiet than you would expect any air compressor to ever be. If you wanted to give an example of its noise level, it's pretty much on par with what a fish tank's air compressor sounds like. So if you know somebody who has a fish tank, or you've gone to a pet store and you hear the fish tanks bubbling along, that's as loud as it is. Okay, so that's the hard part out of the way, because those are the two most important things. You know, apart from paint, those are all you need to get going if you're, well, stupid. So let's go on to the other things. Now that I've told you about the, oh right, the thing the paint, the airbrush is on. This is a airbrush cleaning pot, and what it is when you're done painting, first spray off whatever excess paint, you know, that you're not going to pour back or whatever. You pour that in, you take your cleaning solution, pour it in here and spray it through, and once it starts painting, you know, spraying just cleaning solution color, then just pour water through to clean it all the way through. That's a quick and dirty cleaning tutorial. I'm sure people who, you know, are very commanding about their airbrushes are probably, you know, bleeding through their eyes over that one. But, well, it's easiest, and that's the way I do it. And it's lasted for about 4 months now, so honestly, no problem. So, speaking of these things, what are they? Well, this is isopropyl alcohol, aka the stuff you've got in your cabinet right now for cuts and bruises. Yeah. This is a thinning material. It's a thinning medium that you use for thinning your paints. You know, I mean, we've all heard that old meme, you know, thin your paints. Well, this is thinner for acrylic paints. I don't know if this works on other, like oil paints. I'm not sure. I don't use them. Oils and enamels, I don't use them, so I wouldn't know. But the thing is, you may say, you know, oh, the medium, well, yeah, just pour it all in. Well, no, you only need a few drops of this. You know, speaking of which, be remiss if I didn't show the dropper. I recommend glass only, because you may be using this to transfer paint from one thing to another or whatnot. You have to have glass. I'm not even going to say personal preference, yeah. No, you have to have glass. Okay, let's just get serious with this. You have to have glass. You know, because plastic will discolor, plastic will deform, plastic will do all sorts of nasty things. Get glass. You can get them for $2 at Hobby Lobby in their science kit section. Get glass. I'm sorry I have to stress that so much. Now, you may be asking, you know, what is my cleaning solution? If you've guessed Simple Green, you're not entirely right. Yes, it is Simple Green. It's about yay high of Simple Green and yay high of water. I don't know, I just feel that if it was just solid Simple Green, it might be a little too much for the internal parts on the airbrush. Now, I'm not sure on that, but I just don't feel like taking a chance, and plus, well, I like to spread out my Simple Green. I mean, it's not exactly free. Water, on the other hand, and yeah, I know, free water in a water bottle, ha ha ha. Now, actually, I've had this water bottle for a very long time. I use a Brita pitcher, and I just run my tap water through it. But yeah, I use only, you know, clean water. Don't use your tap water. If that requires you getting bottled water, well, yeesh, why aren't you using a Brita filter? Honestly. Apart from that hippie nonsense. As far as mixing, some people use specialized, I don't know, metal bowls. I just use a carved out plastic cup. You know, one of those little Solo cups, or whatever they are, Dixie cups, whatever brand you use at home. And honestly, you don't even have to go out and buy them. Just rinse out whatever it is you're using and just use this. I mean, supposing it wasn't, you know, something terribly smelly or chemically whatnotted, you know, this will be fine. And I've used this one for, well, they last about a week or two if you're using it regularly. what's next? Oh, you may be seeing back here some things. These are spare parts and the oil. I keep a spare nozzle on hand. Make sure you check with your, if you're buying a different brand other than this, make sure you check with the manual for what nozzle you need. The nozzle is the most easily clogged and easily broken part on a airbrush, apart from its internal needle, but we'll go over that in a little bit. But yeah, just keep a nozzle on hand because, yeah, very hard to do without that. Now, what kind of paint do I use? Now, some people are going to swear by testers, some people are going to swear by P3 or Reaper paints or Game Color, even Citadel, which is, of course, Games Workshop's brand. I just use, I don't even really know what brand this is, Masters Touch Fine Art Studio, okay. I just basically picked up the cheapest box of artist acrylic that I could, because this is approximately 75 milliliter, and there's a bottle right here. 75 milliliter, and this is 12 milliliter, which is about, of course, 6 times more at least. So obviously there's an advantage of getting this stuff. Not only that, you can use very little of this stuff and create a lot of paint because it is, of course, thick and you have to thin it. Now, yes, that does mean you have to do some extra work, but honestly, when you're getting about 4 times as much painting out of it, just from each, iteration, and then you're getting 12 times as much on top of that, I mean, the colors are just about the same. You can mix and match to your heart's desire, to match any Games Workshop or Reaper color. I mean, it's absolutely fine to make your own mix. And see, I purchased a 8-pack of these. Oh, also 75 milliliters there. I could have saved us some time. Oh well. Picked up an 8-pack of those for 16 bucks, $2 for 6 times as much as a Games Workshop bottle. Yeah. Now that that is done, let's talk about the models, getting the models painted themselves. Now, in order to keep this bolter and chainsword friendly, this is an example of the kind of Space Marine I paint. Well, supposing we can actually look at him. Mostly black, just a few other colors, and most of it's all in details. So, unfortunately, he's not the best candidate for a tutorial like this. On the other hand, I do have a piece of terrain, which is BNC accepted, and this baddie. Now, true, he's not power armor, but he does count as a model, so it's just really for the tutorial. I know it's not exactly what we need, but you can frankly use the same lessons for other armies. Just basically, instead of thinking, oh, this is an orc's arm, we'll think of it as a salamander's greaves. Okay, just think of it that way, for the sake of this. Also, I will probably be pulling out a rhino or two and painting that up. Now, I don't know if you can tell... Oh dear, I'm looking at it on the screen right now, and that comes off a lot brighter than it actually is. I took the brown color that came in the paint pack, thinned it to my preference, and shot it through the gun, and it does come out a little bit glossy, but frankly, that's what they have, the final coats, the gloss coat, or the lacquers for the finishes. Good grief, had to get it out there somewhere. The matte finishes to get rid of that. And frankly, you could just paint that on. What I'm going to do is, I've already base coated it with that dark brown color. It's darker than, I'd say if I had to give it like a Games Workshop equivalent, I would say it's about 1-to-1 Calthan Brown Foundation and Chaos Black for that color, although it seems a little bit brighter than that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, how to mix your paints, how to get it in the gun properly, how to spray properly, and all that. So, thanks for the initial watch. I'll come back when I've got the next video. Solid Zaku, out.